Howdy, 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 and welcome to another episode of the DirtInfo podcast. This week, Carter and I talk World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil, XR Dominator, Spring Nationalses, and a bunch of other regional modified stock car and late model action. If you're seeing this, you probably like talking about the same stuff Carter and I like talking about, which means you should give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever it is on the platform that you're seeing this, just hit that. You'll see more stuff like us and just more stuff like we like. So it's a win-win for everyone. Thanks. Also, Carter, I know that this doesn't come out till Wednesday, and we try not to say when we're filming, but I want to point out it's 60 degrees today where I am. And that can't mean anything but good things to me. Racing is going to be starting soon. My kids are going to be playing baseball real soon. I have to run a kid to practice tomorrow for baseball. So I'm saying all of that to say that this show, if you've been watching, may look a little bit different as we get into the warmer months, racing season, and all of that. I've got two teenage boys who play sports. Carter has a job in racing that takes him to the track almost every weekend. And so we're going to probably talk a lot more about the stuff we do. So, Carter, I don't know if you want to give us a peek a little bit at some of the tracks you hit up most frequently as racing season gets started, or maybe, heck, where are you going in a couple of weeks? Something like that. Just give them a little taste or flavor.
I can do both. In not this weekend, but the week after, I'll be at Makokata Speedway for the Nippy 50, which I went to last year, and excited to go back this year. But then after that, from that weekend till the last weekend in October, I'm at a racetrack every single weekend. Usually at least twice a weekend. But then I'm usually at Luxy Raceway on Friday, where I stream at, and then Saturday at Plymouth, where I stream at. And then I also picked up some dates at Angel Park Speedway on Sundays, so most of my weekends will be booked. And then if I'm not streaming, I will go to wherever's racing that's usually closest to me. So my off days are usually spent at racetracks. So yeah, I'm pretty busy, but I mean, at least we can still talk about racing. So just
Yeah.
not some of the stuff we're normally talking about.
Right. We're going to talk about exactly that, right? The things you saw, the cool stuff you saw, the things you experienced. Same thing for me. My tracks are opening in like 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is. But Princeton's opening on the 5th and Ogilvy on the 6th of April. Like racing starting soon. So, yeah, I mean, I hit up those places frequently. I'm wherever the USMTS, Woo, or any of the other traveling series are in my area. So, Deer Creek, MTS, the like. So we're just going to talk more about that and the stuff we follow. And I think it's going to be a very similar vibe to what we've been doing now. If you've been watching us for, when we give a little bit of news on mods and stuff, we'll probably squeeze that in still, but it just may not be at the frequency and at the depth that we've been able to do now because there's only so much time in a day. But anyway, the structure will still be the same. We're going to talk about what we watched, then what we're looking forward to watching, and we'll leave you with one for the road. And we'll squeeze some news in along the way. But Carter, what did we watch this weekend?
Well, Friday was spent watching the World of Outlaw late models at Smoky Mountain. And then obviously Saturday, they canceled, I think, like 5 minutes after the show ended Friday night.
They were talking about it after the interviews.
Um, but then I watched a lot more sprint car stuff this weekend. I saw both World of Outlaws sprint car features and then the high limit feature on Saturday, which took them forever to get in. I think Thursday they rained out, Friday they rained out, and then finally got it Saturday. But that's pretty much all I watched. Oh, I did watch a little bit of Big Blocks too, because they were on during the day. So
Oh, right on. We had talked about that a few weeks ago. It turns out that just middle of the day on a Saturday in March, and you'll watch Big Blocks for
I
a
would
little bit.
pretty much anything. If it's on during the middle of the day, I'll probably turn it on. I'll turn on asphalt during the day. I mean, anything I can find.
Right on. Yeah, I caught the highlights of that race. I don't know how much of it you watched. You said you watched a little bit, but I saw the highlights. It looked like a heck of a heck of a race between Stewart or Stour. I'm not quite sure how to say that, and Shepard. They were in lap traffic coming to the checkered flag, and Stewart held them off. I mean, just it was the last 5 or 6 laps. Shepard was just all over him. So anyway, that was kind of neat. I was going to talk about that anyway, but now we can skip past that.
Can
But
we mention one thing from that show? Did you see the video of the tow truck that rolled over there?
I didn't. I heard about it, but I did not see it
From
yet.
my understanding, it clipped. So obviously the tow truck goes in the infield, and a car was also like crossing to go to the infield. And the tow truck, I guess, clipped, like, from my understanding, like the left front of the car as it was trying to fly into the infield, and then it just tipped over and
Hmm.
right into the entrance of the infield. But I've never seen a tow truck roll over before. I've seen
No.
videos and pictures of water trucks and stuff, but never a tow truck.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the first. Everyone was okay, I assume. I
Yeah.
think I had
So
heard that. Yeah. It's just we always got to mention that. But yeah, I've never seen a tow truck flip. Nope. Um. So the World of Outlaws, I caught most of that one. That was like I did want to touch on. Bobby won. We had mentioned a few weeks back, or I had mentioned. I should not put words in your mouth. I had mentioned that Bobby looked a little bit slow at Volusia, um, and he comes out and I mean puts it on him for the most part. JD made it interesting in traffic, but I mean it was a rubber down racetrack. Only so much you could do.
yeah, I think them two in the heat also like had a pretty close heat race. I actually, I think I typed in the Discord like the heats have been pretty boring, and then literally right after that, JD like almost got Pierce at the line, running the middle, like close heat, and I was like, okay, it's a little interesting now. But yeah, them two pretty much were keeping the racing good in my opinion throughout the night. If it wasn't for them two, it was fairly boring. So
Yeah, I agree. And thank you. I was going to mention that as well. Yeah, like he nearly nipped him in the heat, and then he was the only one who had anything for him in the feature, and he had to start, 2 or 3 rows back. So, um,
they can't all be
but
good
then
races. So
they can't. They can't. And it was to be fair, it was about as interesting as it could have been under the conditions.
yeah.
So take it for what it is, right? JD did poke a nose a fair bit of times, but there was just nothing there. So they made the best of the bad situation. Um, but Bobby Pierce also took the lead in the overall standings, which probably might be the last time that we see a change at the top for that. So
If it is going to change, it might be this weekend when they're in Georgia, just because it's an area Pierce isn't typically like good at. But then after that, they go to Illinois, and it's probably all over
yeah,
from there. So
and then it's pretty lights out after that. So yeah. Um, so interestingly enough, Ricky Thornton Jr. still sits third in Woo standing. So he's also correct. I would need to be corrected from last week. He's also third in Lucas standings. So he technically has a choice of which way to go, but I'll let you take all the credit for this. Carter, which do you think Ricky Thornton goes, Lucas or Woo?
Lucas, I don't think there's
Yeah.
any chance he goes woo.
Right. Exactly. It's not really a choice. Although uh, greedily, I want him I want him to go woo so we can just have him and Bobby all summer. That's
Oh yeah, even like when they said when he was running the Chili Bowl and he was like, depending on what happens during his qualifying night, we'll decide if he comes back Saturday. I was
Mhm.
hoping he would go back Saturday and Lucas would race strictly for Bobby and RTJ all summer, because then he would have to run Woo at that point. But now I
Right.
don't think we're going to be seeing that. And I know he has some like sprint car stuff planned or whatever. So I don't know if like even if he wanted to run Woo, like he might have stuff planned for Lucas off days when Woo would run, and it
Yeah.
could mess up a whole bunch of stuff at this
Yeah.
point. So
But what if he had planned this all along? I'm tinfoil hat. I'm kidding, of course, but just selfishly, right? Um, what if? But it's not. It's not. He's definitely going Lucas. But maybe next year. There's always next year. Maybe they'll schedule it so there's the same conflict, and then Lucas will actually go. And I don't know. Anyway, moving along. Too many what ifs and maybes. There was, so looking at this in preparation for the show, though, there was one interesting one that I saw, and that was I think Max Blair has a bit of a choice. He's sitting 9th in Lucas, sitting 5th in Woo, or Outlaws. I'm gonna start saying Outlaws. We sound like a dog when we say Woo. Woo, it reminds me of my Huskies. Or maybe that's why I say it. Anyway, I could moving on. Sitting 5th for the Outlaws. I know you have not obsessed over it as much as I have, but we've talked about Blair a little bit on the show. I'd love to hear your opinion, which way you think he goes, and if you have any reason at all, or if it's just completely a hunch.
I have no reason behind it, but I think he's gonna go World of Outlaws. That's my guess.
Yeah, yeah, and I think so too, just because he's sitting a little bit higher. But I don't know. I would have to. I guess I should have done more research and looked at the pay structures all the way down through the field. I just feel. I don't know. He looked like he ran so well with Lucas. I felt like in speed weeks, and I know he pits with Thornton and everything like that, and so I thought maybe he might have a
Yeah,
chance to squeak in.
I think they are good friends, so that could be one reason he stays. Lucas is just, I mean, it's a lot more fun probably going up and down the road with someone you're friends with. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just kind of like, kind of like talking racing. It's more fun to talk with your friends about racing. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think that's one of the small factors. I think he might go the other way. I also think that looking kind of at after the big three of Thornton, JD, and Moran, there's a chance he could slip into that top 4 or 5 or whatever they do, that NASCAR thing that they do.
4.
4. But if he slides in that, that's a big payday. And just
And then
they
at that
do,
point, I mean, he could go from 4 to 1. So
yeah. When they race, I feel like Lucas is in Pennsylvania a little bit more. I could be wrong on that. I've never compared the two. I just feel
uh,
like their footprints
they
that
go to
direction more.
Port Royal and the Pittsburgher, I think is still on the schedule. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure where else they go there in that area, but I don't have
Yeah, and I
the
feel like
schedule
they're in like
memorized yet. So
yeah, and I feel like they're in Ohio, Indiana, and maybe Max had never raced there being in PA, but it feels like it's closer or similar or something. I don't know. I just get a vibe that schedule's a little bit more to his advantage, but I could be making it up. That's just Josh's opinion from watching, racing a bunch. But so I don't know. I think it's a
Lernerville,
real choice.
forgot
What's
about
that?
Lernerville too. That's another one
Lernerville?
where
Yep.
he's
Yeah.
raced at I think a good amount. So
A good amount. Yep. Yep. So yeah, I guess there's a chance he would do the counterintuitive thing and go Lucas because the schedule plays in his favor more, or his buddy's on tour, or there's a shot at more money, or any of the three. I just think there's a little bit of a chance. So that was the one that stuck out to me. But anyway, so yeah, Lucas runs this weekend too. As you mentioned, World of Outlaws goes to Georgia. They're at Swainsboro. Lucas is it's
Atomic,
those Doom shows.
Atomic and Brownstown,
Yeah.
which get rained out. It seems like a lot of the time. So
Yeah, yeah, it feels like every year they get rained out. It's like the unofficial extension of the off season. I actually looked at the weather. I know it's a week out, but it looks like it's raining Saturday in both places, Thursday in Ohio. So it may suffer the same fate. So maybe I might be ranting and raving and making predictions over nothing. But um, but yeah. So those are those two shows. Running through a couple other small results because we talked about it last week. Comp Cam's Timmy Culp. That's a name I was watching run USMTS to start last season. Is in a GRT house car. He won with Comp Cams at Springfield. Jake Tim, my boy Jake Tim, was on the podium at that show. So And then the Southern Thunder show at Lancaster. Who
Lancaster,
won that?
Ben Watkins,
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
surprise Hudson O'Neal entrant. There was that there
yeah,
too. I was not
yeah.
expecting that.
Mm-mm. So Tim went one direction to race, and Huddy went another because Huddy was at Smoky Mountain too.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So he ended up finishing third at that
Troutman
show.
was at Lancaster too. So,
Yep. Yeah.
but I think
Just
he was in the Rumley car, and they're located in I think the Charlotte area. So I'm guessing that's part of the reason he was over there.
Hudson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hudson. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I assume so. Um, more R&D time. So if they
exactly.
want to run the car, go run it. I think anytime you can run a race with Kevin Rumley as the crew chief, you're better off for it as a racer. So yeah, even if you have to jump in the back, I think they open trailer that on occasion. So even though you have to jump in the back of the pickup and ride 6 hours a race, it's worth it. Um, so that's kind of the results and some of the things we're looking at as far as the late model world is concerned. Um, there is a big mod show this weekend.
Oh, you're talking
The
about
XR.
oh, they're talking about the IMCA show. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, no, no. Hey, I left it vague. If that's the big show lead, I got it. I can talk about him.
We should mention we mentioned Beatrice last weekend real quick. As we were recording last weekend, we said they're gonna post at their if they're gonna run or not, like the next day, and of course they posted as we were recording. So Beatrice is did get postponed. If you were waiting to find out, if you somehow didn't see.
Between last Wednesday and this Wednesday, you missed it. They're running. They practice tomorrow.
I guess do you want to jump into that, go over that real quick? We kind of talked about it last week, but I mean
Yeah,
Grabowski, Isaac Malikotes when I saw going, Kelsey Black, and I think you said Hopshide isn't entered at the 100K, so
I didn't see it.
I'd assume he'd be running at Beatrice, and then whoever else decides to show up. I mean, it's $5,000, so
Yeah, it's big money. 5K, and then stock cars are 2K too. So um, I don't know if that's a big enough draw for some guys, but I thought it was interesting. 2K for stock cars. The other thing I know, I maybe IMCA shows do this more frequently. I was caught off guard when I realized that the format is heat or draw for heat, run heat, and then they run a second heat, invert it.
that's
So invert the running order
yeah.
and run it
So
again.
141 Speedway, which is 30 minutes from my house. For the Clash at the Creek, that's what they that used to be their format forever. It's different now, but it was the mods would run two heats and then like for at 141, I don't know if they're doing this at Beatrice, but at 141 it would be you'd run two heats with the same guys, and if you started on the pole in the first heat, you would start
Basically
10th in
tail.
and then but then you get passing points. So you kind of get like
Mhm.
it's like kind of even, it's not just one heat, and if you start third, you might be screwed with passing points because you're not, especially if there's a lot of passing. Depends on the track, pretty
Mhm.
much. But I know Marshalltown. Me and Ryan went there last year for their Harvest Hustle, I think it was called. It was like their new fall special thing. And I think Beatrice is kind of copying that a bit more, where it's the same two heats thing, but I don't think you're with the same guys every time. I think it's two different or like
Okay.
different sets of guys, just so you're kind of racing different people and the fans are seeing, different guys
Different
together
guys
and
on the
whatnot.
track.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if Beatrice is doing it for every class, but that's what Marshalltown did. Every class ran two heats Friday,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
then
did see.
B's
Yeah.
features Saturday.
Yep. I did see. So two heats. I just have two heats written down, and then the top six lock in. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah. Yep. And then B's and features the next day. So kind of a cool format. It reminds me a little bit of like the way the USA Nationals
Yep.
used to do it for forever. Yeah. Which I don't know if that works for late models as much. There's not as much. Eh.
I don't, I
Anyway,
don't, I
I'm
don't
not gonna
mind.
get
I don't
stuck in that.
mind the format if you have enough cars, because I've seen that
Yeah.
format with like not a lot of cars, and it's like on Saturday, like say like I've seen it where like 10 lock in, and say there's 16 cars entered in that class. So you're then on Saturday you're watching a B main with six cars, but all six transfer. All it is just lining up It's kind of it's just
order.
like why not just lock in all 16 and just save a race on Saturday at that point? But
Yeah, that's pushing the limits. But yeah, I agree. If it, and I feel like in IMCA racing too, that there's just more passing. So like
yeah,
it
I
the
I I
the
would agree.
yeah. So the classes and the competitors and the cars all just line up for that working a little bit better. Whereas like, super late models give a guy a pole or give him the rear and it may not make a huge bit of difference,
Yeah,
right? Everyone's just super fast.
not often you're seeing a guy going like 10th to first in a heat
Right.
in late models where you see it very often in even like with Soda or USRA, like especially like stock kind of classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much in the mods, but like you'll see a guy go 10th to first very often.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So kind of a cool format. And then I guess while we're on the topic of IMCA or IMCA-ish, there's another one you had mentioned, Scotland County. They're running, I don't think it's IMCA sanctioned. You
No,
warned me.
yeah, it's I think it's more so IMCA rules, but I did see they made a post for like I think it was just B mods like with soda cars are legal if they do some
Okay.
changes and whatnot. But it's just a show I'm watching because it's in Missouri, but it's close to Iowa, and a lot of Iowa guys go. And you'll see maybe one or two Wisconsin guys, which is why I'm intrigued in it, just because some of the
Yeah.
local guys by me are going down. But yeah, it's just a show I'll kind of keep my eyes on. I think it's only 1200 or 1250 or something like that for mods and
12,
stock cars.
yeah, 1250, but each night.
Yeah.
So,
So it's
uh,
it's not like a 5K, but it's decent pay. It's just something
yeah,
that
that's a solid.
I'll just something I'll have my eye on. See who
Yeah.
shows up.
Yeah. When you had mentioned it, I went and looked at it and I kind of just did a head now like, 1250. That's not terrible for IMCA mods 2 nights in a row. Like that, we were talking about payout bumps just last week or a couple weeks ago. And so, that's a decent number. Maybe
And
not enough to drive too far, but it's a solid number.
that is a track that'll have a USMTS show at some point this year too. So I think they
Right
only
on.
run like 10ish shows a year. It's kind of like the specials throughout the year. So,
Okay.
but you'll
Well,
get to see it eventually. So
yeah, I'll have to hunt down highlights of this show just so I can be prepared for the USMTS show. Probably not. But anyway, the big show that I'm paying attention to this weekend is the XR Dominator at Salina High Banks. I don't know if Salina High Banks. We're just gonna roll with it. Forget
the
it.
Oklahoma
Salina
one,
High
right?
Banks. The Oklahoma
Because
one. Yep.
there's another one, and for the longest time I was thinking
But
this
it's
race was
not
in
high banks. But
I
it's
was
not
thinking it
high
was in
banks. There's the
Kansas this whole
high,
time.
yeah, the high banks. We've corrected that a while ago. But yes, there was a moment when you thought it was in Kansas. It is not. This is the one in Oklahoma. Um, so I think when it was announced, there's a 200 entry limit. As of us recording this, it's somewhere around 75. Um, I suspect that may go up a little bit. I mean, they're actively pursuing getting some folks to go there. I think we had both noticed that Chase Holland was gifted an entry fee, and there may be or may not be another gifted entry fee available from a sponsor. Someone's donating entry fees, so that number may go up a little bit. I would wish it would. I mean, for $100,000 to win, you would like to think there'd be more cars.
I think it'll
But
jump up a bit. I'd have to, although maybe some guys don't show up and then it evens out right at 75. So
yeah, it could be. I'm hopeful. Just I don't know. When there's big money put up, if you want it to keep happening, we all gotta support it. So, um,
do you think like
that.
sometimes we see in late models world where there's like a big show, but then like there's like 35 cars. I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of one of those deals where I don't know really what it is. It's just not like it's not like for in late model terms, it's not like an Eldora or something. It's just like a new event that I don't
Mhm.
know. It's not special anymore because it happened last year kind of thing.
It could be. there is the idea of fatigue, right? We had 100,000 race last year, and we've had another one announced, and then another one announced, and then another one announced. You know, so like I think all of the big deal filled their 100 allotment. I think the other two big money shows are um, a little under where they had hoped to be at this point in time leading into the show. So that's a valid question. Is there some level of fatigue, or was it cool and worth the memories? Maybe to your exact point, it was cool and worth the memories the first time, but there's really only a handful of guys, 20. I mean, that's more than a handful, but maybe 20-ish mods in the country that you'd say are of the caliber to win this race.
And I
And
mean,
that might be,
we've seen this with other shows too, where like the first, like it's something new or like totally different, and like everyone goes to it, and then the next year, I mean, Bristol Dirt Nationals, like they had tons of cars, and then the next year they still had a good car count, but it was nothing compared to the first year. And like
yeah,
sometimes a show like that continues to be special, like Gateway, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for whatever the reason is.
yeah,
It could just be like, it kind of seems random. Some of these like I'm not going to call this race a gimmick race, kind of like Bristol and Gateway sort of is, but there's like shows like that where they continue to be special and get just packed and bigger, and then they just other ones just
hmm
fade out for whatever the reason is. I don't really know why.
yeah, yeah. I know that term is can be negative, right? Gimmick, but I think sometimes the gimmick works, and I think sometimes the
Yeah,
gimmick,
I mean, I have no problem with gimmick like Gateway. I love. I would have liked to have
yeah,
gone to the Bristol Dirt Nationals. It's just something I
yeah,
didn't end up going to.
hmm
There's a lot of shows like that. I feel like that end up. I mean, I don't think it's a negative at all.
yeah,
But I knew what you mean.
yeah,
People will hear the term gimmick and not like it. But yeah, I don't mean it in
yeah.
a negative way.
Yeah, no, and I don't think it should be taken that way. I think if you can lean into the idea of your you can flip it and just call it novel, right? Something that is novel or different that you can only see, but in a narrow way. It's the same as a gimmick. But anyway, we're parsing words. I think there's a place for that, but like, yeah, with the 100K race, I there also stands the chance that you may not be able to get the max entries, but this race is still profitable by fan turnout, streaming revenue, people wanting to see it. Like, I'm interested because I'm going to throw out some speculation just to lead off. I'm personally interested because I think there's a chance you could see a Kate Dillard sighting, which would be a bit of a surprise. A week ago, you wouldn't have thought that, but you know, things happened and now that could be a possibility. But even outside of that intrigue, even if he didn't show up, there's still, you've got Jim Chisholm, Kyle Strickler, Mason Ziegler, Chase Holland, as we mentioned, is coming through. Tyler Wolf, Tim Ward, I saw was on the card. There are names from across different sanctions and areas coming to battle it out, and some of these guys are the absolute best of the best. And it's whether there were 50 other guys I didn't really know or not, I don't know that it changes the quality of the race, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
sometimes too, like you could have 200 cars or you could have 75, but you're still going to have the same amount of like good drivers. You just might just have a lot more not as good drivers. I don't want to call them bad, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like you might just have more cautions with 200 more cars and
Yeah.
or with 200 cars, and but like the same 20 guys are still going to be the ones in the feature either way. So I mean, like you always want to see like the higher number. I mean, I am like just like this. Like when I show up to a race, like I'm way more excited when there's 60 cars versus 20, even if 40
Agreed.
of those cars are guys that can barely make it around the track. For some reason, it's just
Right.
the race intrigues me more. But yeah, you don't
Mhm.
always need a super high car count to have an amazing race. So. And you got the star power still. I mean, I feel like majority of the USMTS, if not all, are going to be there. Plus,
Fair.
regional guys that maybe not be USMTS but are still competitive when they run with them. So
And then I don't want to be like interloper here or there, but there are guys from UMP. Ziegler's going to be there. Ziegler, I think, was a pretty big factor in the big deal last year. Before I think a tire or mechanical issue. Anyway, he was in it. He was doing well. I recall that much. But you
Nicely's
know,
on it too.
Nicely's on it. Yeah, like you can't ignore that. Um, so it's a good field and it's a nice mix. I actually didn't see if Kurt Spalding was on the list. As of now, he's not. I don't think. Um, but anyway, no, he's not. Not yet. But there's a chance. Anyway, there's a chance for a bunch of these guys. But like, if he were to be there, I think he'd have a. I would legit think he had a legitimate shot at winning too. So, we'll see. I think it's a good mix of cars. The show should be solid. I think the one thing maybe that isn't as magical as you do lose the soup run factor a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there is something really cool and neat about that, but I still think if a guy can go from a D to the A, that's cool. Even if it isn't the same as someone going from like a K to a C. I don't know. Anyway, just throwing them letters, just saying letters. But you
Um,
get my point.
do you wanna make a pick for the race?
Um, yeah, I do. I'm gonna let you go first while I ponder for one more second, but
Okay, I'll go with the guy who I saw was practicing there this past weekend, Jake O'Neill.
okay.
That is,
Okay.
yeah, I saw on Facebook he was getting some practice in, so I mean, he's got some laps around there, so I guess I'm sure a lot of other guys
Yeah.
do too. But
Yeah, we haven't even said him. Another guy, total factor, finished second in a 50,000 race last year. Um, so I think because you're going with fact and reason, I'm going to go with heartstrings and it would be a cool story. And I'm going to go with Jason Hughes, um, who first year not running USMTS in forever, first year not manufacturing cars in forever. And I believe this track's kind of right in the backyard. So yeah, I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with Jason Hughes. So. Uh, but yeah, other than that, though, I think that's all the talkers for today. That must mean, Carter, it's time for.
the one for the road, and I'll start as usual. I think it was just past weekend, right before the Vegas high limit race. They announced like a new franchise. Was it franchise system or something with the word franchise? Whenever I see that, I think of Madden franchise, but
A franchise system.
franchise
Yeah.
system. And admittedly, I don't know how it totally works, but what I do know is somebody's walking home with $625,000 in 2029. And even if you're 15th, you're getting $130,000. And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, that's money you don't normally see in our sport. And I know, I don't know if it was Brad or Kyle Larson, but they were saying like they want their goal with this, part of their goal is to make it where High Limit or World of Outlaws, whatever, isn't just a stepping stone to NASCAR. They want it to be like this is their goal. Like they want to get to High Limit or whatever and just stay there and be able to make plenty of money doing that. Which I think is cool because I don't like losing guys like Corey Day and whatnot. So, because I'm big,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
Corey Day a lot. So I would like to see him stay.
Yeah, yeah, and he comes back for so I don't want to say one night only, but a much more rare appearance on Saturday and wins it. So
Yeah,
one race for one win. Yeah,
I do want to
yeah.
mention one thing about we don't talk about sprint cars much this week, but I am High Limit's going to Tulare on Wednesday, and I am very excited to watch that. I love the California tracks, and they're at I think Paris and then Bakersfield at Kern County. It's a very confusing thing going on there,
Oh yeah,
but
that,
but yeah,
yeah,
I love the California track, so that is probably something I'll be keeping my eye on too this weekend that we didn't touch on earlier. So
yeah, yeah. I didn't get a chance to enjoy much of the high limit race. Um, I was,
it was
yeah,
interesting Saturday.
yeah,
We'll just say that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Saturday was fun, and we'll leave her there. Um, but yeah, on that franchise thing, like, admittedly, I'm not gonna pretend I know a whole bunch. When I hear it, I always think franchise tag from like Madden, or not Madden, well, Madden
NFL.
obviously, but the NFL. But yeah. But no, I do think it's kind of cool, like the idea that you can earn the spots to what they gave out 4 or 5 of these last year. I think it was supposed to be 5 and it ended up being 4 of these spots. And now they're going to give out 6 more this year. And I'm unsure if this year it's based on a rolling 2-year performance or if it's just going to be the top 6 finishing guys that don't already have one. Unsure, kind of irrelevant in a way. I just think it's cool that they started out and they attracted some good talent, some good guys, and those guys are being rewarded for kind of putting faith into it. They got these franchise spots, and then it doesn't pay out this year. I don't even know if it pays out next year, but at some point it's going to pay out. It's going to start paying out good.
Yeah, 2026 it starts. And then in 2028 they add another 5 more franchises or whatever. So the first 2 years it's 10 franchises that get paid out a ton of money, and then 5 more. And they keep adding money from 2026 to 2029, because 2026 the winner gets 425,000, and by 29 you're at 625. So
yeah. So it progressively goes up, and again is rewarding staying there. And I'm assuming there's probably some things that can happen with these. They can maybe be sold or traded, or
you can sell them. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know you can sell them however that works.
Yeah. So, but hey, it's at least an asset, and maybe, to their point, it's something that keeps someone connected to the sport, and they can make a living and stay racing, and not have to try to go to that next step and keep the dirt guys on dirt. It's my personal favorite kind of racing, so obviously it must be everybody's favorite kind of racing. But all right. Well, I'll go next. So mine's a little weak, but you had brought up food a couple weeks ago, and you said you couldn't really think of a topic, and you were daydreaming about corn nuggets. Well, I'm gonna go the reverse. So I'm wearing my my Tyler Carpenter / Marty McFly shirt that I picked up. It's green because we're filming this on Monday and it is St. Patrick's Day. But saying all that to say, I made the most bomb corned beef and cabbage right before we filmed this. And I don't know if you like corned beef and cabbage, but this was my best one yet. And so, like, I wanted to just find a way to worm in that I crushed corned beef and cabbage this St. Patrick's Day. So it was so good. Oh man. We did it in the crock pot. I bragged about it. I'll say what I did. Put it in the crock pot, a little beef broth, let it cook for a few hours, then put the potatoes and the carrots in, let it cook for a few more hours, and then put the cabbage on top and let it cook for a few more hours. And then it was just all done at the same time. Oh man. Oh, so good. Little special seasoning. I did season as I went. I know it comes with a packet, but I put a little of my special secret seasoning that I put on all beef. I put that on there, and then I put some Danos on the on the vegetables. Anyway, now I'm just being a fat kid. So I'm gonna end it right there. We appreciate you for watching. Thank you for making it this far and listening to me brag about cooking. We'll see you next week. And again, like, share, subscribe, tell someone. We appreciate it all. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.